Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a special match preview in association with BT Sport for Villa's trip to Turf Moor on Wednesday to play Burnley. BT Sport is broadcasting every Premier League team twice in 10 days, including Burnley v Villa at 6 p.m. on Wednesday the 27th of January. With BT Sport's monthly pass, Villa fans will be able to watch 3 Villa games and everything else on BT Sport for the next 30 days for just £25 with no contract at all. To sign up, have a look at the link in the description. Go to there and it should tell you exactly what to do. BT have got Burnley v Villa, Villa v West Ham and Villa v Arsenal coming up. So it's a good time to sign up and get yourself involved with BT. I've got Dolan with me as usual, and Villa obviously great to get a win on Saturday night against Newcastle, coming into it now with confidence high after that win. But Burnley are going to have some confidence as well because they completely disrupted Liverpool last week, ending that massive home stretch that Liverpool had, that home record. It's going to be a tough game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always tough for me. Like I say, they don't score that many goals themselves, but they just defend so resolutely, and they defend as a team. And looking at the key players on the pitch, I think it'll be the battle of the goalkeepers. I think Nick Pope's been absolutely outstanding this season, as he has done for the past few seasons. Likewise, Emi Martinez, another clean sheet on Saturday night. Just feels so assured and so confident when I watch Aston Villa play, because when there's a ball into the box, he just commands that area so well. But now with Burnley, I mean, they've had quite a rich history of producing good goalkeepers. I mean, you look at Tom Heaton, who we thought was going to be our number one for the foreseeable future last season, and obviously had a really horrendous injury. But it'll be tough. It'll be tough. I can't see it being particularly high scoring. Burnley don't seem to score more than one a game. Most of their wins this season have all been 1-0. They had a goal against Fulham in the Cup, scoring 3, but I think that was against a very weak Fulham team. But I think two teams in form. We've come back after COVID and we've still looked solid. Looked a little bit leggy at times, but I think game 3, against Burnley should be back up to the full fitness. We've got John McGinn back. And I fancy this. I think I fancy a informed Villa. I fancy just the edge past an inform Burnley.
Yeah, because Nick Pope's been exceptional so far this season. You could make an argument for him being the best keeper in the Premier League so far this season. But like you say, I think I'd probably plump for Emi Martinez. So he's been excellent. Probably should be England goalkeeper in the summer, but probably won't be. It's since Ben Mee's come back that they've kind of gone back to the Burnley of old now. That like you say, they didn't get off to the best of starts, but they've solidified now. They've got themselves going and they're doing what Burnley do best. So it's going to be a really big ask for Villa. But Watkins is off the mark, which is a key thing now. I think he'd gone 7 or 8 games. No, he'd gone 10 games, in fact, without a goal. So massive for him to get on the score sheet against Newcastle. Yeah, another goal disallowed. But hopefully now he's got some confidence again. You could actually see the difference it made to him scoring that goal. You could see the relief in his celebration, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could see it. And, I think he was more... I never thought he was lacking confidence. I just think he was frustrated. No. You could always tell, players that lack confidence, they tend not to find themselves in the positions. He was constantly finding himself in positions. He constantly finding himself, goals being ruled out. Even the West Brom goal, I forgot about that goal against West Brom that he scored, and we won 3-0. That was ruled off. So he should be pushing 12, 13 goals already this season. So no, he looks. He's just like I think everyone wanted him to score on Saturday, and you called it during the week. Last week you were pretty confident he would score, and I think everyone just wants to see him kick on and do well. But even when he wasn't scoring, like I said, I was never particularly worried because he offered so much. He offered so much for the team, and the ball was sticking with him, and he was making runs into the channel, and he was just involved. He was involved in everything good that we did going forward, and with the talent we have going forward now, I touched it on Saturday night. Like, there's goals coming from all over the pitch, and we're not just relying on Jack. We're not just relying on our number 9. There's goals coming from all over the pitch, and El Ghazi's chipping in with 4 or 5. Traore's now on 5 or 6 for the season. Jack's chipping in. Barkley scored a couple. So there's goals coming from all over the pitch, and I think he'll go on a run, because after the hat-trick against Liverpool, he found a bit of form when he went on a run. And there's a stat this morning that all of his goals have come for Villa when Ross Barkley's been in the side, which I found...
Someone fed you that, didn't they, I think, before the show?
Yeah. Was that you?
Yeah, I think I might have said something to you. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is a great start. So to have Ross back and against City there, and then against Newcastle, he pops up, and hopefully that'll be him now on a run. And yeah, it's happy times ahead. Hopefully.
Yeah, because Burnley's quite a tight pitch, isn't it? It can be a really tough game down there, and having an extra player like Jack and now having Ross as well, that'll really open up the pitch a little bit more for Villa, someone who can find space in tight areas. And even though he's not quite been at it, which you would expect after so long out, he just does make a massive difference having him there, doesn't he, Ross Barkley?
Yeah, he can turn a game on its head. He's just got that quality, and he's just full of confidence. He knows how good he is. He believes in his own ability, and I think Jack just loves playing with him, and I think he loves playing with Jack. And there's a really good team spirit at the minute, and a really good understanding between those front 4 or 5. Even if Trez comes on, I thought he looked really lively when he came on Saturday. Chori now's linked up and kind of really cemented his team. Well, Ghazi as well. He's been dangerous, and even though Barkley hasn't played, and he hadn't played in what 2 months,
something like that, yeah.
Prior to the Man City game, he kind of came in and picked up pretty much where he left off. And I just think Barkley again. I just think it's a bit of fitness. I just think he's missing a little bit of fitness. And once we get him up to speed, I think he'll be back to the player that we saw when he first arrived. And again, to have McGinn's energy, I think back is going to be massive. I just think that energy. I think we missed it a little bit. As good as Nakamba was on Saturday, I just think we missed McGinn's box-to-box energy and the way he plays. He's so tenacious and he makes things happen. He not only can he tackle, but he can create. So we lack a bit of creativity as well and goals whenever McGinn's out of the side. So great to have him back on Wednesday.
Yeah, on Twitter, Matt C's actually asked us if there's a case for starting Nakamba and McGinn together and just giving Louise a rest, just because we're probably going to need some rotation over the next few games. It's not something that we've done this season, but he kind of went over under the radar a little bit, Nakamba, didn't he? I don't think he really came up too much in our post-match show after the game, but I didn't realise until I saw his stats. His stats were exceptional. I thought he was okay from what I saw with my eyes. I thought he was decent, but his ball recoveries, his pass percentage was really high. Considering that's only his second Premier League start of the season, he did really well, didn't he?
He did, yeah. But I think against Newcastle, they give our players all the time in the world. Let's be honest. I mean, my takeaway from that game was training game. It was very much like a training game. It's going to be a different kettle of fish on Wednesday. Burnley won't give us a second. They'll be at us. They'll be nipping around this. They'll be closing down. They'll be fighting for every ball. And I just think Nakamba sometimes his maybe only downfall would be tends to maybe dither on the ball a little bit and take that extra touch, where I think we need to go in full strength. I think we need to go in this game with Luis, with McGinn, with Barkley. I don't think we can afford to be. I know we have to rest, but I just think that the games are coming thick and fast. We've had 3 weeks off. The players, although they had COVID and they were maybe feeling a bit fatigued. They haven't played in essentially 3 or 4 weeks again prior to the Man City game. So they've had a bit of a mini circuit break, so to speak. And I think you ask any manager, and they always say, any players that are in good form and that are confident just want to play. They want to play, and you saw Jack's reaction when he came off, and even Barkley's reaction when they came off on Saturday, which I actually like, because it shows a passion and a desire to want to just play football. And I think that speaks for itself. They just want to play football. They're enjoying the football, and they're confident and they're playing well. So I think, for me, at this moment in time, you only take a player out of the team if they're underperforming.
Yeah, and to be fair, not many of them have underperformed this season. I think you raise a valid point as well. I think Nakamba did have a lot of time on the ball against Newcastle. You won't get that time against Burnley, will you? Because they're just in your face. It's the way they play. They want to disrupt you. They want to be a little bit direct. But I think they actually add something to the Premier League. They're a side I really like. As I say, I've watched a fair bit of them recently. I've had a couple of their players in my fantasy football team, so I've been watching them a bit more than I usually would. But they do add something to the Premier League, don't they? Something different.
Listen, I've got a lot of respect for Burnley. I've got a lot of respect and a lot of time for Sean Dyche and the way the club's been run. I know they've just been bought over. I don't know what kind of spending power their new owners have, but I know that they've been bought over, and there's obviously grand plans. But there's, tell you what, there's 4 or 5 of those players in that Burnley squad I would happily take. To name a few: Pope, Ben Mee, Tarkowski. I really like Brownhill. I really like Dwight McNeil. I've said about Chris Wood. I think Chris Wood offers a lot.
Well, he's not in my fantasy football team offering me anything, Chris.
No,
He hasn't scored since he's been on the team.
When we were lacking and when Messi was going for a bit of a drought, that I'd have gone maybe looked at making a cheeky bid for Chris Wood last January. But now they've got a real good sort of ethic about them. They may not be pretty on the eye, but they certainly never give you an easy game. They never give you an easy game, and I think what they've done with Dyche and the legacy he's built goes under the radar. He's walked into that club and he's essentially done what he's done to Burnley the same way Arsene Wenger's done with Arsenal. He's gone in there and completely transformed the club. Obviously, Burnley aren't as glamorous as Arsenal, but if you look at what he's done since he's been there, and he's stabilised them into a real stable Premier League outfit. And yes, they may go on runs and have the odd flirt with relegation, but no, they're a solid Premier League outfit. And I think when Dyche finally decides to move on, he'll have a list of clubs give him a ring, because he's a top manager.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a settled side, haven't they? We've got a relatively settled side as well. And as you say, when you've got a settled side, you can get a good run going. I mean, Chelsea have got rid of Lampard. That's one of the problems he had. Absolutely just could not pick the same 11 week in, week out, always changing things, trying to find the right formula. And Rory Dorgan on Twitter's asked us whether Lampard actually getting the sack, whether that helps us or hinders us in terms of keeping Ross Barkley. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I would probably have imagined there's been some kind of conversation had with Barkley regarding a summer transfer. I don't think if we were to buy him, we would buy him now. Well, why would we buy him now when we've got him until the end of the season?
Yeah.
It all depends on who comes in. Is it Thomas Tuchel when I come in there? So you don't know. You don't know. It could be. Yeah. Listen. There's a few players again from Chelsea I would have. We all know about Tammy. We all know about our relationship and our thoughts and feelings on Tammy. Whether or not he becomes available, whether or not Tuchel likes him, I think it probably puts it with Barkley and maybe Abraham. I think it maybe puts it back a little bit, but it all depends on what that new management come in and on what they decide. But I think he's probably too far down the pecking order anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it affects us.
Chelsea, I don't think it affects us. I think it depends how he plays over the next 2 or 3 months, whether or not we get him for 25 or 35 million. I think that's just going to be the case of how he performs. If he stays fit, can we keep him fit? Can we get him performing on a regular basis? And can he break into that England squad? And if he can, then he'll want to stay. He won't want to go back to Chelsea. He'll want to stay and play with Aston, play for Aston Villa, instead of going back and being 4th or 5th choice. So, no, I can't see it being a massive issue.
Well, at the time of recording, it looks like we're going to have another option as well coming into that midfield, perhaps for when Barkley is out. It's good to have that extra option in Morgan Sanson. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I know loads about him and that I've seen him play loads of times, because quite simply I haven't. But from what it sounds like, we're getting a £30 million player, because I think that's what he was valued in the summer, for around 15-16 million. And it seems like that's just something that Villa couldn't let go, and it was something they wanted to do now.
Yeah, I think like any football manager or any football club, if the right deal comes up at the right time, you've got to take it. I don't know anything about him at all. I mean, I know as much as you do, and listen, I've had a little look on YouTube, and I've watched him closely. He seems to be a real, I don't know, kind of like a John McGinn type player. Just appears in the box. Seems to score worldlies. Every goal I've seen has been an absolute worldly. Both fitted as well, from what I can gather. And just seems to have an incredible engine on him as well. I know he's very, very highly regarded, not only with Marseille fans, which itself, if you can please the Marseille fans. I mean, my brother lived in Marseille for a couple of years, and so I would have always had a kind of a close eye on Marseille, and I've been to the Stade Velodrome, and it's quite the place. It's all that town talk about is football. They live and breathe it. And I tell you what, they can be critical of their own players. So if you can appease the Marseille fans and please them and get them on side, then he's clearly doing something right, because that is one hostile crowd to play in front of every week. So he's going to come with good pedigree, not only physically, but I would like to think mentally as well. Because he'll have done that week in, week out for Marseille. And there's some top teams in that French league, and they come up against some top players. So what I've seen looks like an absolute player. Listen, hopefully he can settle in. I know he's mates with Freddie Gilbert, so hopefully they can create a little spark and a little bond, and Freddie can help him settle in double quick.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have asked this, to be fair, and Sam Nugent is one of them. He's asking where Sanson's gonna play. I mean, I would say it doesn't really matter. It's not something to worry about at the moment, because we have got that settled 11. But it makes sense to have someone come in now that perhaps you can bed in slowly. We're in a fortunate position where we don't need people to hit the ground running straight away like we did this time last year. You get him settled now. By the time the summer rolls around, you've got a player that perhaps maybe you would have bought in the summer, ready and adapted. And I think that's a key thing. And it's key to have extra options as well, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think the way we're going to do our business very much is because we obviously had that massive transition last year, which was needed, 11, 12 players, whatever it was. Last summer was 5, one this window, maybe one more if something comes up.
Oh, you want that one more, don't you?
I just want that striker. Whether it be a loan or a deal or a transfer. I just want that one striker in. But we seem to be a club that is going to build properly and take its time and build. For me, there's no better time to build a team than in the summertime. Tend to get that many. There's been a few. I think Suarez was purchased in January. There's been a few players that have come in January and hit the ground running, but it's quite rare that you get somebody that you bring in January that kind of comes in and takes off. But as you said, Dan, he doesn't need to come in and help us. I mean, you look at Samata last year. When he came in, he had to come in and he had to score goals. He had to, and
he didn't.
And he didn't. And that in itself would have been a massive pressure on his shoulders. I think, as you say, with Sanson coming in, he can come in. He's walking into a great environment, great team spirit, team that's high in confidence. We need, I've always expressed my kind of the lack of options that we have on the bench, and I was even saying it, whenever we were winning at the start of the season, and even now when we're on a good run, I still think we need that two or three, 4 more players to be able to compete and to have a bench that we can look to and players that can come on and affect the game. And I think the way Smith plays is, you talk about rotation. I mean, El Ghazi didn't get a game all season, comes in, plays 5 or 6 in the trot. Traore comes out of the team. Trez gets injured. He then misses. Then Traore comes back in. Then he plays 4 or 5. Sanson could come in. McGinn could pick up a suspension or whatever it may be, a little niggle. Sanson comes in, has a couple of really, really outstanding games, and he stays in the team. And I think the way Smith will manage is if you carry on performing, then you'll stay in the team. And although we haven't rotated that heavily, there's been a few players that have come in and out of games for they've come in and out for maybe 4 or 5 games at a time, and it's and you need that competition for places, and certainly him coming in will up everyone's game and give everyone an extra lift as well.
I think it's decent, to be fair, now, because I would have written a Camber off if I'm being totally honest. But now you've seen him come in a couple of times and he's done okay. I think as a squad option, he's completely viable when people are missing. Sanson now is a good option. It seemed that Connor wasn't fancied at all, so he's essentially taking his place in the team. Connor wasn't being used. It appears that Sanson will be. Jacob Ramsey's making an emergence as well. He's someone I really, really like, and I think the coaching staff are really fond of him as well. So other than attack, where I accept there is an issue for the lack of depth at striker, there is good options to come in now on the wings as well. I mean, El Ghazi scored 4 or 5 goals, and he hasn't started since we came back from the COVID stuff. So we're in a relatively strong place, aren't we?
Yeah, I do. I think we've got options across the pitch. We do have options all across the pitch. I think probably need another left back to back up Matty Target.
Not yet, though. That can wait till the summer.
Yeah. Well, that's to talk about in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can get to the summer. We can get to the summer with Target and Taylor as our left back options. But I think going forward and looking to the summertime, I think we're still only 4 or 5 short. Like it's not a lot. I mean, we are so close to becoming. I honestly believe we are a couple of players away from trying to break into that top 4. And and I'm not one to try and go over the top. And
No,
I'm always like sort of, when it comes to Villa, glass half empty. And I said at the start of the season, I'd take 12th. I thought 12th was probably as realistic as we could hope for. And in terms of anything, just being an improvement on last year, and any way that we can go into the last game of the season and try and enjoy it for once, as opposed to every final game that we play over the last 3 or 4 years has been a defining moment, So I just want that kind of. I would happily take a very, very dull 10th finish, or a very dull top 12 finish, and then you go again. And I think we are gelling. We're gelling as a team a lot quicker than we thought. And we're certainly putting in the performances. And again, just credit to Dean Smith and the job he's done. I think you're seeing, in Dyche and Dean Smith, you're seeing what can happen when owners of the football club stick with their managers and stick with the philosophy that their manager has. Because Smith went through a real rough patch last year, and it wasn't looking great. And he'll be the first to admit that he isn't stupid. But the fact that he kept us in the division, and we built again. The players in Smith, they're all better for it. And we're, like I said, we're only a couple of players away from being a real top 4, top 6 team.
What's the ceiling this season? What your aims? A few people have asked where we think we should be aiming to finish. What do you think?
I mean, every game's tough. Every game is tough. I don't really go into any game and think it's going to be an easy 3 points. Maybe apart from Saturday night, but Dan, I don't know. I mean, how many times we even did like score predictions, didn't we, at the start of the season, and we stopped that because we were just looking like mugs every week because you just couldn't call it. I honestly cannot call it. And that's why I'm sort of saying we're not going to get a better opportunity to maybe add 1 or 2 more in this window and try and push for that 4th place. If we win our games in hand, where we go 4th or 5th. And I was thinking the other day, like, we've already played City away, we've already played Chelsea away, we've already played United away, we've played Wolves away, we've played played some top teams away from home. Leicester we played away, and we've got results.
Yeah.
So a lot of the teams around us, we still have to play at home, and at home, I'd fancy us against anybody. At the minute, I know we had a little patch there after we won 7-2 against Liverpool, but at home, honestly, I fancy us against anybody. So where can we finish that? Honestly, it could be, it could be anywhere. I think. Well, I'll go by saying I think we'll finish top half.
Yeah.
Which for me is a massive, massive improvement and a massive achievement if we can get in that top half and cement ourselves as a top half Premier League club. Then who knows the kind of player we can attract next season.
I think my thinking is you aim for around 6th or 7th. I think 6th is definitely achievable this season. I think the way the season's gone, it'd be nice to finish top 6, wouldn't it? And say we're a top 6 side. It's been a while since we finished that high in the league. The chance we've given ourselves by the first half of the season, I mean, we haven't even got halfway yet for Villa, have we? But the chance we've given ourselves in the opening to this season, like you say, you won't get a better chance to do something special and get yourself in that top 6, and that would be massively ahead of schedule. So I'm looking at, you're aiming for 6th or 7th, but I'm like you. I think we're definitely a top half side. The way the Sky pundits are waxing lyrical about us, what they're saying they want to get Villa as their game because they enjoy watching us. I think that's a massive thing. I think we're doing things the right way now, and I do think the sky's the limit for this side. So I think you're aiming for 6th or 7th, and that's an exceptional season, and you're a year or 2 ahead of where you thought you were going to be as a football club. So I think that probably does us for this week's preview. We will be back on Wednesday night with a Purity post-match pint after the Burnley game, so make sure you're watching out for that. And don't forget about this BT Sport monthly pass as well. No 12-month contracts. You signed up for BT Sport for 30 days, 25 quid, no contract, and you'll get to watch 3 Villa games. So it sounds like a decent deal to me. And thanks for BT for sponsoring this show as well. We really, really appreciate it. Dolan and myself and some guests will be back Wednesday. Fingers crossed for 3 points for Villa. Up the Villa.